Welcome back to Talk Your Abs Off. I'm your host, Abby Clapper. And if you have ever walked into the gym thinking, what am I even supposed to do today? This episode is for you. Truthfully, the gym can be really confusing. And you see all of these pieces of equipment, they tell you what body part they use, but you don't really know how to fit them into your routine. Some gyms are actually set up with a circuit of machines that will work the whole body if you follow each one next to each other, which can be great. But are they all necessary, or are they helping you actually accomplish your goal? Maybe not. Like, think of that machine that you sit on and it looks like you're getting ready to crush a watermelon between your thighs. Is that the right machine for you? Hopefully, this episode will help clarify. This is the framework that all trainers are following, or should be following for their clients. It's what I use when I'm programming for my clients. This will also depend on people's goals and how long that you might have been training, whether you're a beginner or advanced. This framework will match that, but it's going to differ a little bit slightly depending on where you are in your journey. If you build your workouts around these 5 exercises, you'll be stronger, more balanced, and way more efficient with your time in the gym. There are 5 main movements that we should have in a workout that will replicate what our body does on a daily basis. They are a push, a pull, squat, hinge, and a core movement. Think about the tasks that you do throughout the day. More than likely, they are incorporating one or more of those movements. Let's start with the push. So, in everyday life, we push open doors, we push grocery carts, we push ourselves out of bed, up off the couch. And in a workout, the push motion uses our pectoral muscles or our chest muscles, our shoulders, and our triceps, the back of the upper arm. Now, the obvious exercises that you might think of are things like a chest press, a shoulder press, a push up, and some of the less obvious exercises might look like a chest fly, which actually feels a little bit more like a pull, but is still considered in the same category as the push. Tricep extensions, either with cables or dumbbells, and other shoulder isolation exercises. So, when we're thinking of the push, we're thinking of those 3 muscles and how we can use them most efficiently. So, we want to make sure that we're using our chest, shoulders, and triceps for some kind of pushing exercise or isolation. The second one is our pull. We pull open doors, we start lawnmowers. I might have just shown my age because I had to pull start a lawnmower. I don't think they have that anymore, but you get what I'm saying. We pick things up off the ground and we do many other pulling motions throughout our day. And in a workout, when we pull, we're using our back muscles. We're also using our biceps, that muscle in the front of the upper arm. And we're also using the back of the shoulder, which is called the rear deltoid. Now, the obvious exercises here for our pulling motions are going to be things like our lat pull downs, our pull ups, maybe our seated or bent over rows. And then some of the less obvious exercises might be things like a back fly or a bicep curl, which are still going to help us get stronger in that pulling movement. The next one that we have is going to be our squat. Think about all the things that you do to squat throughout the day. We're lifting things, standing up off the floor, getting up out of a chair. Primarily, we're using the quad muscles, which is the front of the upper thigh. We're using the glutes, so those are the 2 primary movers. And then we're also using the hamstrings a little bit too. That's the back of the upper thigh. Now, the obvious exercises here are going to be our squats, and we have a variety of squats. We have our back squats, front squats, sumo squats, single leg, and the list can actually go on from there. There's many different types of squats. And we can also do a leg press using a machine. The less obvious exercises might be lunges. It doesn't look like a squat, but it performs similarly to a single leg exercise. And we can also use the leg extension machine, which is going to focus on the use of those quads. So again, when we're looking at these exercises, the pushes, the pulls, these things, they don't necessarily equate to the exercises that we're doing, but more so the muscles that we're using. When we get into our hinge movement that we want to make sure that we have, that is when we are bending over to pick something up. A lot of times, if you're not squatting to pick something up and squatting and picking up with your legs and using your back, that's going to be more of that hinge, which can still be strong and can still be a good movement if done properly. That movement is primarily using our hamstrings and our glutes. Now, the obvious exercise here is a deadlift. If you've done a deadlift with a bar or maybe with some dumbbells, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, our less obvious exercises that are going to use those same muscles are going to be things like glute bridges, hip thrusts, and the hamstring curl machine that are using those same muscles. Lastly, I want to talk about how we're using our core. So, this is more than just sit ups and crunches. If you think about when you're carrying the groceries inside and you're maybe holding bags in both hands at your sides, your core is engaged to keep you stable and walking upright. If weight is distributed unevenly, your core has to adapt. So, same goes for carrying grocery bags or a suitcase in one hand or maybe a baby on one hip. There are multiple core muscles. So we have the transverse abdominis. Those are our deep core muscles that also go around to support the back. We have our obliques. Those are more of the side core muscles that help with rotation, flexion side to side. And then we also have the rectus abdominis, which is what gives people that six-pack look. All are incredibly important for stability and help us move through all of our planes of movement. So, when it comes to our core exercises, we want to focus on bracing, our bracing exercises. So, things like a farmer's walk. What that looks like is literally like carrying in your groceries. We're holding on to a heavy dumbbell in each hand. We're standing up tall, rolling the shoulders down and back, bracing through the core, and walking for whatever distance is comfortable for you or maybe challenging for you. We're walking, we're coming back. You can also do a suitcase carry. That's just taking a weight into one hand, offsetting that balance a little bit. You can also do overhead carries, single arm, both arms overhead. It really just depends on what you want to do. Those are really good bracing exercises. And we also have a couple that you can do on the ground. So we have our planks. Everyone loves and hates a plank, right? We can do them on your elbows, on your hands, on your knees, on your toes. And holding that plank is that we're still doing that bracing movement just on the floor. We also have our side planks, which are going to engage a little bit more through the side of those abdominal muscles, those obliques that we talked about. And we also have a couple of dynamic exercises too that can be really good for finding stability and bracing through the core. Things like bird dogs and dead bugs. These are things that you can, if you're unfamiliar, you can look them up online, find videos on how they are done. These are the basic movements that most workouts stem from. So, if someone has a goal of general strength, you should see each of these movements. And if someone has a goal to, let's say, grow their glutes, it might look different. That's where you might see more of the squats and the hinges along with isolation exercises, something like donkey kicks or glute kickbacks with less emphasis on the upper body pushing and pulling exercises. And depending on the time that you have available, you can try 2 to 3 full body workouts a week that include each of these 5 movements. Or if you have more time, you can split up the movements into different days. Maybe doing push pull one day, squat hinge another day, and just finding a cadence that works well for you. It's all about finding what workout schedule is going to stick. Now, if you're overwhelmed and you're trying to plan your workouts, I want you to just ask yourself, did I squat, hinge, push, pull, and brace this week? These exercises may also look different if you have an injury or any limitations, but there are always ways to find something that can still work with your body. That's also where a personal trainer like myself can come in. I've worked with clients with health conditions who just don't know where to start or what their body will even let them do. And that's what we as trainers are here for. So don't hesitate to ask. Consider working with a professional if you're unsure of the proper form because avoiding injury in exercise is absolutely crucial. If you're curious about learning more about what it looks like to set up your own workout, feel free to reach out. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm Coach Abby Clapper. And I know that this was a quick episode today, but I really just wanted to get this out there because sometimes coming back to the basics is really all we need to find that fresh motivation and just get started. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Talk Your Abs Off. If you're enjoying this podcast and want to support it, you can now. Listening and sharing episodes already means so much, but if you'd like to support the show financially, you can head to the link in my show notes that says support the show. Contributions help cover production costs and allow me to keep creating thoughtful, accessible content for you. There is absolutely no pressure. This show will always be free to listen to. But if you've gotten value from these conversations and want to give back in that way, I'm incredibly grateful. You can find the link in the show notes.